barrel vol.
Okay, if you have a Valken M17 and you want to shoot TIppx magazines, then I got a magwell adapter for you. Therefore, to remove this magwell, it's kind of hard. For what I've seen, it's mounted differently than the Milsig edition. Would you think it's kind of the same, but it's not because of the front one. It's different. These two can be removed quite easily by just using two keys, and you can bolt them out. The front one they decided to Loctite, so it's really hard in the sense that one bolt you probably get out, the other one then gets stuck, and you need to remove both bolts to remove the pin that's inside of there. And that's it looks the same than the one that are inside of this one, but those you can just pull out. So you can just turn out one bolt head and push it out on the other side with the pin and the bolt. But technically it are just two small bolts on both sides that are just screwing in a longer rod that goes inside of them. But for some reason they wanted to make this one different, with a smaller hole in, let's say, the magwell body. So that way you really need to remove both of them with the bolt heads, and then you can remove the magwell. Then afterwards the pin that's inside. If you don't know this, then you may break the magwell a little bit to get this one off, because I really was not really aware of what's going on, why does it want to go, and things like that. But yeah, how I designed this one, I just made this hole bigger again, so you can just remove all the three of them in the same way. It's a bit of a tight fit, so it's not like the Rep 4 or MCS conversion kit marks. It's like you push one pin out and you can flip out the magwell. If you want to install this one, you probably want to use it for quite some time and not change it out all the time. This way, this one stays nice and solid on it. And yeah, let's keep it like that. This magwell will work with, let's say, all type of magazines, in the sense it will just lock in at the normal place on a TIppx magazine. So no strange mods needed to make this one lock. Now, it will just lock in. And just like with the other designs I have with this style, you can just press the button at the back, so you can use it on both sides and pull it out. So it's for lefty and righty, because it's just in the middle and the back, so you can just reach it easily. Also you can use it with of course the Zedamax, but what I want to say is with the dual with the mag couplers that I made. There's no problem with that at all. Use it that way. I should be able to feed first strikes fine. I've made a Detent system, new design, and it should keep the first strike in place without flipping it, because the thing is, you cannot feed all the rounds through the magwell at one go with the magazine, because of course the follower doesn't stick out so long that it will push it all the way up. So one round will stay in the chamber when you release your magazine, but that's the detent for, that you don't notice this, so you will not drop any paint. Yeah, this is how it will look. So with the 12 rounder, seven rounder, dual mag. Okay, I have gotten a few shape ejectable rounds in this magazine. If you insert it and do a tactical reload, you will lose. If you do a tactical reload, you will lose one paintball or first strike, because that is just the nature of how the detent works, and that the paint is already pushed out the magazine halfway when you do that. But there will be one round in the chamber, and I hope you can see that. Yeah, I think you can. You can see the red thing there. So it does work, but what you don't want to do is shake it all around, things like that, when you do that, because there is a chance if you do that it's going to flip, and then it's kind of getting messy with the way how the Milsig Valken M17 chamber is designed, not so much the magwell. Because I simulated that pretty much like how this block is right here on the magazine. So that should be the same. But it's afterwards it's getting really wide, and then it goes back to a tunnel, of course, because of the barrel. It's really odd shape, so it's really easy then for it to flip around like crazy. So if you just do normal, let's say, operation, and you keep it kind of steady and reload before you start running around, then it's all fine, because then there's spring pressure on it again and it keeps it all in place. But if you do like this and then you start running around, and then it may get all over the place in the barrel and it may cause an issue. But if you reload first and then there's spring pressure on it again, it should be all fine. If you want to remove the paint, of course, you can just push your finger inside and that way push the detent. And if it is a round ball, it will fall out really easy. If it is in first strike, it may give you a little bit of resistance. But yeah, installing the magazine, at least making the magazine, the magwell itself. So making the magwell itself, it's wise to put this bar in at first. This one you press down. You put this one in first, then afterwards this one. You can just slide it on inside this way. There's a different video that you can refer, that maybe I show it in detail. And in a little part right here, you slide that in the fingers of that bar. This made it a little bit smoother action by giving it a turning pivot point. And in order to hold this all in place, you just use some pins right here and here. You can use some super glue, something like that, to glue that in place, or you melt it down with some plastic, things like that. Also, not to forget, there's also a spring you need to place on this side. So do that first before you do the pins. But what you can do is place those parts inside and just compress the spring, put it in the opening and just let it expand in the place where it should be by releasing it. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes you can correct it a little bit by using something small and kind of push it. Sometimes you just want to remove this thing again and do it all over again until the spring is fitting in the right place. But yeah, again, especially with the shape projectiles, it can be really hard to get them out afterwards if you leave them in the marker. So you may find it easier to just shoot them out, to turn it upside down and just shoot them like this empty. so you don't have to fiddle around to get them out. And when you do that, all that kind of thing, and they start flipping, and then it gets really messy. But yeah, there's just a warning. And in case you feel like that's really nothing you care about, you rather lose one round. But yeah, let's say in this case that would be really expensive. Then you have only like 6 rounds to shoot every time you reload. But yeah, it's an option if you don't want to have the detent inside of here. To not install that detent with there's a little finger with a spring and a pin you hold in place right here. Just leave that one out, and that's just a basic yeah, magwell. Yeah, I hope that it's helpful for you guys, and I will now try to fish out the rounds that's inside.